The last time I spoke to my dad, he was stirring sugar into his coffee with that old bent spoon he refused to throw away. 3 packets, always 3, even though his doctor had been nagging him about his blood sugar for months. Emma, honey, I need to tell you something about the lake house, he said, not looking up from his mug. There's this old business partner thing I never finished dealing with. Some LLC paperwork from way back. I was scrolling through my phone, half listening. I'm serious. If something happens to me, you need to know about Ward. Karen Ward. Her husband was my partner when we bought that place. He finally looked at me, those tired brown eyes more serious than usual. The deed's more complicated than Teresa knows. Dad, nothing's going to happen to you. I reached across the kitchen table and squeezed his hand. Besides, you've got years to sort out whatever paperwork mess you're worried about. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Promise me you'll remember that name. Karen Ward. 2 weeks later, he was dead. Heart attack in the driveway, groceries scattered across the asphalt. My name is Emma, and I should have listened harder. The funeral was a performance. Teresa stood at the front of the church in her perfectly pressed black dress, dabbing at dry eyes with tissues while accepting condolences like she was collecting awards. Riker and Julian flanked her like bodyguards, nodding solemnly at everyone who approached. I sat in the 3rd row, alone. Such a tragedy, I heard someone whisper behind me. At least he had Teresa and the boys to take care of everything. The boys? Like I didn't exist. After the service, Teresa cornered me by the parking lot. Her fake tears had evaporated completely. Emma, we need to talk. She glanced around to make sure no one was listening. The will reading is tomorrow, but I want to save you the trip. Your father was very clear about his wishes. What do you mean? Don't expect a dime. Her voice was flat, matter-of-fact. Everything goes to his real family, the house, the accounts, the business assets, all of it. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. I'm his daughter. You're his first wife's daughter. There's a difference. Teresa adjusted her purse strap. He made his choice when he married me and had real children. Behind her, Riker was leaning against his truck, smirking. When he caught me looking, he made a little shooing gesture with his hand. 24 years, I whispered. I was his daughter for 24 years. And now you're not his problem anymore. Teresa's smile was sharp as glass. Don't make this harder than it needs to be, Emma. Accept it and move on. She walked away, her heels clicking against the asphalt like a countdown timer. I drove home in a fog, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. My apartment felt smaller than usual, the silence pressing against my ears. I sat on my couch, staring at nothing, trying to process what had just happened. Then I remembered his laptop. Dad had given me the password months ago when he couldn't figure out how to update his banking app. Just in case, he'd said. You're the only one who understands this computer stuff. I opened it with trembling fingers and went straight to his email. Most of it was junk, pharmacy reminders, and forwards from Teresa about family barbecues I was never invited to. But then I saw something that made my heart stop, a thread from 6 months ago. The subject line read, Lake House LLC, outstanding transfer. I clicked it open. The first email was from someone named Karen Ward. Robert, we really need to finalize this paperwork. The LLC has been in limbo for 15 years. Either buy out my half or let me buy out yours, but we can't keep leaving this unresolved. Dad's response. Karen, I understand your frustration. I'd like to transfer my half to my daughter Emma. She's the one who should inherit the lake house anyway. Can we set up a meeting to discuss the transfer process? Karen's reply. Of course. Emma Black, correct? I'll have my lawyer draft the paperwork. Just let me know when you're ready to move forward. Dad's final message, sent just 2 days before he died. Karen, I'm sorry for the delay. I've been meaning to call you back. Emma doesn't know about this yet. I want it to be a surprise. Let's plan to meet next week and get this sorted out properly. I read the thread 3 times, my heart pounding harder with each pass. The lake house. Dad's most prized possession, the place where he'd taught me to fish and skip stones, the place where Teresa and her boys had been living rent-free for the past 5 years. I grabbed my phone and started Googling. Karen Ward, plus Lake House, plus LLC. It took me 20 minutes to find her address. Karen Ward lived in a modest ranch house 20 minutes outside town. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, rehearsing what I'd say, before finally walking up to her front door. She answered on the second knock. Mid-50s, grey hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, wearing gardening gloves covered in dirt. Can I help you? Mrs. Ward, I'm Emma, Robert's daughter. Her face softened immediately. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry for your loss. Your father was a good man. She pulled off her gloves. Please come in. Her living room was simple but warm, filled with photos of what looked like grandchildren. She gestured for me to sit on a floral couch while she settled into a recliner. I found the emails, I said without preamble. About the Lake House LLC. Karen nodded slowly. I wondered if anyone would follow up on that. Your father mentioned wanting to transfer his half to you, but then... She shrugged sadly. Life got in the way, I suppose. Can you tell me exactly what the situation is? It's straightforward, really. When your father and my late husband bought that property back in 2008, they set it up as an LLC, 50-50 ownership. When my husband died 3 years ago, his half passed to me. She leaned forward. But here's the thing. Your father's new family doesn't know about the LLC structure. They think he owned it outright. My pulse quickened. So, legally, I own half that house. And your father's half should have gone through probate, but if there's an LLC agreement... She stood up and walked to a filing cabinet. Let me find the paperwork. She returned with a thick folder. Here it is. The original LLC documents clearly state that in the event of a partner's death, their share can be transferred to a designated heir or sold to the surviving partner. And Dad wanted to designate me. That's what he said in his emails. But he never filed the paperwork. Karen sat back down, studying my face. Emma, can I ask you something? What's your relationship like with your stepmother? I let out a bitter laugh. She told me yesterday not to expect a dime from Dad's estate. Said I wasn't his real family. Karen's expression hardened. I see. Well, that woman has been treating my property like her personal vacation home for years. Never once acknowledged that I had any claim to it. What do you mean? She's been renting it out on weekends, pocketing the money. Threw a wedding reception there last summer for one of her friends, charged them $3,000. Karen's voice grew sharper. Not once did she think to split the profits with me. I stared at her. She's been making money off your property. Our property. And yes, she has. I have bank records. Karen opened the folder again and pulled out several printed statements. Look at these deposits. Lake house rental, weekend. Property fee, event. She's made over $15,000 in the past 2 years. The numbers swam in front of my eyes. This is insane. It gets worse. Last month, she had the audacity to send me a letter through her lawyer, claiming I had no legal right to the property and demanding I sign a quitclaim deed. Karen's hands were shaking slightly. 30 years I've been dealing with that family's arrogance, but this was the final straw. What did you do? Nothing yet. I was waiting to see how the estate would be handled. She looked at me directly. But, Emma, if you're interested in honoring your father's wishes, I have a proposition. I'm listening. I'll sell you my half. Fair market value. That would make you the majority owner, and you could do whatever you want with the property. My mind raced. How much would that be? The house was appraised at $200,000 last year. My half would be $100,000. I had been saving money for 8 years, living in my tiny apartment, driving my ancient Honda, putting every spare dollar into investments and savings accounts. The data analyst job paid well, and I'd been freelancing on weekends. My bank account had just over $120,000. I can do that, I said quietly. Karen raised her eyebrows. Just like that? Just like that. She smiled for the first time since I'd arrived. Your father would be proud. He always said you were the smart one in the family. Can we do this quickly, before Teresa realizes what's happening? I'll call my lawyer first thing Monday morning. We can have the paperwork ready by Wednesday. Karen stood up and extended her hand. Partners? I shook it firmly. Partners.